So what you want to do when you're ready to assemble your sunflower is you want to get the bottom of the root ball, and you first need to weave in your end. So in order to do that, you're going to go through the middle of the next stitch over. So the braid right here, you're going to go in through the middle, and you're going to go through the between the stitches. Basically, you're weaving in between stitches. What you want to make sure is that you don't see your needle on the outside. And then you'll go ahead and pull that through. You can pick up some more stitches, and again, you're not going all the way through, so you don't want to go all the way through where you see your needle on the other side. You just want to go in between stitches, and that's going to make sure that you don't see the end that you're weaving in. Okay, again, you don't see the needle on the outside, and you just pull it down. You don't have to go that far. You don't have to do too much with it. You're basically just trying to make it so it's not sticking out. And once you're done there, you can pull your needle off, grab your scissors, and cut off the end right here inside. Okay, so now that's ready to go. Next part you want to do is you're going to be attaching the top of the root ball onto the bottom, but you need to make sure that you have wire inside, so that way it will keep the stability of your sunflower from the inside. So what you want to do is, I usually get 12 gauge aluminum wire from Bead Landing. This is something you can get at any craft store. This comes in 3 yards. And what you want to do is take the end, you're going to coil it, and you're making a circle. You want to make a circle that's going to fit in the inside, the bottom part of your root base. So make the circle, and you want to take this end and you want to twist it around a few times. Okay, and you're going to have it facing upwards. So the circle will be at the bottom, and then this is facing towards the inside of your piece. You can take the other end, and you sort of just have it tucked down a little bit and then coming up. Okay, so see if that fits in the bottom of your root ball. You want to make sure that that circle fits. This one's a little big, so I'm going to just take my hands and squeeze it until it's small enough to fit. Okay, that fits actually pretty well, so that's perfect. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to pull out enough of the wire so that the end will be inside. You'll have the long stalk where you're going to put your stem, and then you have enough at the top to where you can make another coil on the inner side of the face. So let's go ahead and cut the end. This should be more than enough. You can kind of see the length here that I'm going to cut. It's always better to cut too much and then just have extra than it is to cut too short of an amount. So let's go ahead and cut that. Okay, that's that. You can put the rest of your jewelry wire away. Okay, put the bottom circle in your base, your root base. Now take the root top, and the way you can tell that which side is the right side or the wrong side is that the right side, the side that you see, you can see the very defined rows going around. It's very visible. On the back side, it's not. Okay, it's really harder to see where those rows are. So you want to make sure that you're putting the right sides facing out. Same with your root ball. Make sure you can see those rows. Okay, and that's how you know that's the right side. Okay, now you're going to go in through the middle where you had your magic ring on the top of your root, the root ball top. You want to go in through that center from the wrong side. Okay, so that way the right side has the wiring sticking out. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull that down. We'll put our circle down into the root base. What I like to do is when you're ending your final rounds on both of them, you'll see that there's a little bit of a lip that's created on both sides. I like to line those up when I'm sewing together. And what I need to do also is on the tail that's on the top of the root ball, you're going to go ahead and put your yarn needle, thread it thread it through. Now what you want to do is you're going to whip stitch all the way around. You're whip stitching the top to the bottom. And in order to do this, you need to see the braids on both, okay? You want to make sure that you're going in through the bottom side of the braid on the root base. Okay, so come through like that. You see the V right there, so you can see the whole thing. Then you're going to go in again through the bottom of the V that you're lining it with, or your stitch that you're lining it with on the top. Okay, so now you've got them both on there. Go ahead and pull that through. So now they're connected. Now you're going to go to the next stitch. Again, there's your braid going underneath the braid, and then from the bottom, right? And then you're going to go through underneath the braid on the top part. Now you've got them both, and go ahead and pull them through. Okay, so now you've got 2 stitches done. You're going to do this same thing all the way around until you get it to a point where there's about, I would say about 1.5 inches left over that you still need to stitch, because at that point what you need to do is you're going to be stuffing the root base. So you want to make sure that you stuff it before you finish closing it off. Okay, and you're going through underneath the braids, okay? So you want to make sure that you're going underneath them. And then when you can see the stitches, you don't see the braids anymore. It's connected them together. This is called a whip stitch. And this is the most common way that you will see pieces attached together when you're making amigurumis. Okay, once you've got your root ball to where you've got about 1.5 inches of space left over to close, you need to go ahead and grab your stuffing. I use polyester fiber fill stuffing. You can get this at craft stores in giant packages. They look like this, in case you're interested. You can see polyester fiber fill. This one is 32 ounces that I like to get. It takes me a while to get through it. So what you want to do is go ahead and stuff the root ball. You're stuffing around the wire inside. You want to make sure that the circle on the bottom that you made with the wire stays at the base of your root ball. This is going to give your sunflower the most stability that you can. So you're stuffing on top of that circle and around the wiring. You want to make sure to just keep it straight on the inside of the root ball. Just keep stuffing until it's pretty packed in there. You'll notice that polyester fiber fill gets everywhere, so you're just going to have to pick it off at the end. But it's easy to vacuum off. Once you're finished stuffing your root ball, let's go ahead and finish closing it off on the top. I usually use my finger to hold the stuffing inside so that it stays clear of the stitches that I'm doing. If you let it fluff out, it's going to go through the stitches with your needle and your thread, and it's going to look like you've whip stitched stitching into the edge. So you want to make sure to hold that inside so that way you don't get that happening. So again, just keep going under the braids on either side until you get to the other side of where you started. This is my last stitch here that I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and do the last stitch. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go in through the root base, just like I'm making another stitch. What I want to do is I want to come out a little bit further down the line. So I'm still around on the edge, but I'm just a little further than where my needle is right now. So let's go jump forward. Now what you need to do is you need to fasten off and weave in the end, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just pick up one of those whip stitches that I did earlier. Okay, so you're just picking this one up You only want to make sure that you're just grabbing that one stitch. Don't go deeper than that, because what you're going to do is you're going to pull the knot that you're making right now inside of your amigurumi. So you do not want to see it. If you pick up too many stitches, it's not going to hide inside. It's going to stay on the outside. So watch how this works. You need to go ahead and grab that stitch, start pulling it through, but don't pull it through all the way. Oops. Okay, now you've got this loop here. So now you're going to take your needle, go through the loop, and pull tight. Okay, so there's a little knot right here. It's not too noticeable, but you want to tuck that inside. So what you want to do is pull it forward so you can see where you're going to put your needle inside the piece right here. You're going to go ahead and put your needle in through, come out anywhere on the bottom. It doesn't matter where. What you're doing is, again, you're just pulling the knot onto the inside of your amigurumi piece. So go ahead and pull it through. And this, what this is going to do, you can watch the knot. Here's the knot right here. Let's see if I can get you in closer. Okay, there's the knot right there. I'm going to pull it, and you can see it just went through. Okay, so it just went onto the inside. And then now all you have to do is just cut the end off. Let me grab my scissors again. Okay, cut the end. You can do one of two things. You can either take your needle, go in somewhere near where that edge is, and pull it onto the inside, or sometimes if you just squish it around, that little end will tuck itself in. Either way. Okay, so now you've got your root ball finished. You've got the wiring still coming out as before, but all the stuffing is inside, so it's not going anywhere. The next part you want to do is you're going to attach the stem. So you've already got your stem created. There's two ends of the stem. There's the end here where there's a nice hole. That's going to be at the top. The end that you want to work with is the one that you originally did your chain stitch on. So it looks a little closed off right here. This is the one you want. So if you pull on this thread, you can see it sort of opens a little hole right there. Right here. That's what you're going to slip over your wire. Okay, so slip that on to your wire. Okay, you need to go ahead and thread your yarn needle through the thread that's connected to the base. Now what you're going to do is sew the stem onto the root base. And what you're going to do is go ahead and you're picking up stitches around that magic ring. So let's just go ahead and we'll pick up the stitch on the edge of that first circle there. Okay, so now it's connected. Now what you want to do is you're grabbing from the top down, you're grabbing that original chain that you made on your stem. So there, I picked up a stitch here. I'm going to go down into that same place where my thread's coming out from my root ball, and I'm going to go ahead and come out around another one of the stitches around that first magic ring on the root ball. Okay, go ahead and pull that through. And you're going to do it again. So grab another stitch from your original chain on your stem, going from the top down. Now you're going to go into that same stitch that you have coming out of the root ball and come up from another one of the areas around that magic ring. Okay, pull it through. You're going to do this all the way around. There's our last stitch. Put it in through that stitch here where our thread is coming out. Now what you want to do is you're going to need to tie off this end. And you want to make sure that you're coming up on another edge of the other side next to one of those tucking stitches you did. So you're coming up next to green. You need to make sure when you're tying off ends that you're tying them off around the same color that you're working with. Otherwise, you're going to see the knots that you're making. So I just went in through one side. I'm coming out the other side. Get this out of the way. and I'm right next to one of the stitches that I took along that chain stitch. Okay, so I'm going to wiggle my needle until I can get it through that stitch, and only that stitch. You only want to pick up just that little green stitch right there. Okay, do exactly what you did before. Start to pull it through, but make sure you leave your loop. Take your needle, go in through the loop, and now pull it tight. You've made a little knot. Lift it up so you can see where you need to go in with your needle. You don't want to go to the outside of that, otherwise you're not tucking in the knot. You need to go right directly where that stitch is. That way it will hide it on the inside. Again, just pull your needle through. Doesn't matter where, you're going to be tucking this all in the inside. So you're just trying to give yourself a place where you can pull your needle through. Okay, pull it. And what you want to see is that knot tuck inside. And as you see, the knot tucked in, you don't see it there anymore. Now, take your scissors. Go ahead and cut the end off. Take your needle, just go in around it, and then if you just swoop around, it sucks in that last bit of thread right there. So now that's on the inside, you can't see it at all anymore. It's all hidden on the inside. Okay, so the next part that I do is I work on the leaves. There's 3 leaves that I had you make when you crocheted the different pieces. So let's go ahead and grab those. Now we have our 3 leaves, 1, 2, 3, and I want you to grab an embroidery needle, and threaded through, you want your olive green embroidery thread. This is the full amount of embroidery thread, so it should have 6 strands of thread if you actually counted them. And what you want to do is tie off the end, make a knot. Okay, so the next part that we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding the line that goes along the top and bottom side of your leaf. What you want to do is your leaf should arch in one direction, and the direction you want it to arch is you want it to come up on the side where, if you look at the top part, the lip goes out longer on the top than it does on the bottom. So the bottom side is going to be the side that you sewed down onto your root ball. So you want to make sure, you can kind of see it's at an angle. So you want to make sure that it's angled that way. You can see that this is the top part here. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to go in through the center circle here. You want to make sure you're not picking up any stitches inside, you're just going straight in. And you want to come up on the 4th row from the opening. So there's 1, 2, 3, this is the 4th, I'm in the middle. You're going to go between stitches because what you want that to do is you want it to trap this knot on the inside of the leaf. You don't want the knot to be pulled through. If you go around the hole, it's just going to pop right out. So you need it to go through where you're going in between stitches here. Okay, go ahead and pull that through. And you can see it's stopped my knot. It's not coming out. Okay, now it doesn't really matter where you go in to end your line, but it's about halfway between the top and the bottom of your leaf. Okay, so you're going to go through the top stitch. Now you're going in through these holes that are made in between each of the stitches. So you're going to go through, you're coming out the bottom side. Okay, go ahead and pull that through. And now you need to go back towards the top part where the leaf will be attaching to the root ball. And you want to go in through the hole that is 3 rows down. 1, 2, 3. So you're going in through the middle. So you want your lines to be straight. Okay. And pull your thread through. So you can see we've got our line on the top and there's a line on the bottom. Okay, just pull it a little bit because you want it to be tight. You don't want your stitching to be loose on the outside. So pull just a little bit, and you can hold it with your hand to hold the tension. Now you're picking up the back side of the outer stitches here. So you're going to pick up the back side so you don't see it on the front, back side of the stitch, and you're tying your thread off. Okay, make your loop, go in with your needle, pull it tight. Now it's 1. I usually do 2 to 3 just to make sure that my thread's not coming out at all. Really fastens it tightly in there. I think 2 is fine on this one. Okay, get your thread, get your scissors, go ahead and clip off the end, and then take your needle and just tuck that thread inside. Okay, you still have all of your braid to use when you're tying down your leaf to your root ball. None of that has been affected by the little knot that you created on the inside. And you've got your line that goes on the top and bottom side of your leaf. Okay, so that's 1. Now you need to do it with the other 2. Okay, you've got your 3 weaves finished. You see the lines are on each one. Now what you're going to do is you need to attach them to your root ball. So let's start with the first one. Go ahead and take your yarn needle and thread the end of your first leaf through. Now grab your root base. And what you're doing is you're actually stitching it to the stem, to the very bottom row or 2 of the stem. What you're going to do is you're going to go from right to left, and then once you finish that, you're going to flip it onto the underside and go back the other direction. So you're creating a little oval to stitch it down. Okay, so go ahead and come up on the stem. You're going to come up through one of the holes in between the stitches. And then again, you're going through one nearby within 1 or 2 stitches of where you started. So now it's connected. Now you need to pick up the braid, the top braid here. You want to pick up both sides of it. So you should have your whole V there on your needle. And what you want to do is go back in through the hole that your thread is coming out of on the stem, and then bring it up to the next stitch here. Go ahead and pull that. Okay, there's 1. Now grab the next top stitch here, the V, and go back into the same hole where your thread is coming out of. Come over to the next stitch on your stem and then pull through here. So you can see we're connecting the leaf. Again, grab your V from the top stitch, go back in through the thread, and then come out to the next hole. Okay, so now you've done the top stitches. Now you need to do the bottom stitches. So you're going to flip the leaf up towards the stem top, and you've got 3 more stitches left on your leaf. So you need to grab the next one, the whole V, back in through the stem and come out along to the next stitch. Pull it through, grab the next top stitch on that leaf, go back in through the same hole that you're coming out of with your thread here, and go along till you come out of a stitch, just 1 or 2 stitches past where you're at now. So that way you're still underneath where you need to be for your next tacking stitch that you're doing. You're still whip stitching, but whereas with the root ball you had that really nice 2 edges that you were just stitching together. This one you're actually having to pick up your own stitches here just by going through the holes on the stem. So it's just a little bit tougher, but it still looks really nice when it's done. Okay, come up. Sometimes you'll see this little knob where you had your finishing stitches from the leaf originally, sometimes I like to take my needle and grab that little loop there that sticks up sometimes and just tack that down so that you don't notice it. You're going to come out on the other side of the stem. Your leaf is completely attached now. Now you need to fasten off your thread. So in order to do that, you're just going to grab any stitch that's right by the hole that you need to tuck your knot in once you've made it. Just one stitch through the whole thing though. Okay. Pull it till you have a loop. Put your needle through. And now pull it tight so you've got your knot there. Lift it up so you can see where the hole is and stick your needle through the hole. Now you want to come back out the opposite side of your stem and pull until you see that knot tuck in. Okay, so the knot's tucked in, and now just cut the thread and take your needle and tuck in that little edge of your thread that you've cut till it's on the inside of your stem. Okay, so that's one leaf. So now we need to do the other two leaves as well. So what you want to do is line up your leaf so that the very edge is touching the very edge of the other leaf that you've already tucked down. There's just enough room around the stem for the 3 leaves to fit. Okay, I'm just tucking in the last end here. Now you can see you've got 3 leaves attached to your root base and your stem. They're all attached all the way underneath as well. They're not going anywhere. And the next part you're going to do is you're going to work on the face. So you need to get the back side of the sunflower's face, which is green. And again, you want to keep the right side on the outside of the piece. So when you go in from the top of the wire, you want to go in through the right side, because the wrong side is where you're going to have that coiled wire on the inside of the face. So go ahead and go through that magic ring center. Right here. You have to wiggle it a little bit until you get it through. Okay. And now before you stitch it down, you can go ahead and create that circle with the end of your wire here. So what I like to do is I like to keep the working thread that you're going to be using to stitch the front side of the face to the back side. Keep that at the bottom. Now you're going to take your wire and you're going to coil it around like you're making a pretzel. I like to come through the back, just as I said, like a pretzel, and I like to twist it around at least the one time and then facing it towards the inside of the piece. Okay, you want to face the end towards the inside of the piece. And the reason for that is that you don't want the end sticking out one of the holes. You want it to be on the inside where the stuffing is going to be, between the front of the face and the back of the face. Okay, so there's our pretzel circle of wire inside, and there's the little end sticking out there. Okay, so next thing what you want to do is you're going to flip it to the back, and you need to take the leftover thread that's at the top of your stem and put your yarn needle there. You're going to now attach the stem to the back side of the face. Okay. So when you're done with that, what you want to do is you can bend the wire so it's facing upward. This just makes it easier for you to attach the stem to the back of the face. And from the underside, you're going to do just the same thing you did with the stem and the root ball. You're going to go around the magic ring that's on the back of the face. So you're going to go around those stitches. Okay, so take your threaded needle, go in through the back of the head, find a stitch, you're going up to the back side, and then coming again towards the front, picking up one stitch here. You can see that I've gone through one stitch and then pull through. That has secured it. Now coming in through the outside, going towards the inside, you're going to go and pick up the braid on the top part of the stem. So picking up the V. Again, you're not going from the inside out, you're going from the outside in, underneath that V there. And then go in through the same stitch of the back of the head that your thread is coming out of, and then go to the next one to the left of it and pull through. Okay, so go ahead and keep going until you get all the way around. So coming in from the outside in, going up through the head, and coming over to the stitch next and pull through. And you may have noticed I did not stuff the stem. There's really no room for stuffing the stem. All you really needed the stem for is to have the wire inside to hold the wire in without having it visible. You do not need to stuff the stem. Okay, so this has finished. It's all the way stitched around. Now your thread is coming up from the wrong side of the face, right? The side that's going to be on the inside. So now let's go ahead and we're going to bend our wire back up. Okay, here we go. There's our thread on the bottom there. So now you know that we're coming from the right side here. And you want to go ahead and tie it off. So you're picking up, just again, one of those little stitches on the back here. It does not go to the front. You don't see my needle on the right side or the front side here at all. Okay, go ahead and pull the loop. Secure the end a couple times. Make sure it doesn't come undone. Take your scissors, clip the thread, and that's all that you need to do for that piece. The next piece that you're going to do is the face piece. So the face piece is the part where you're going to be needing to do quite a bit of embroidery. Whenever you're ready to start the embroidery, you're going to make sure you've got your piece of felt that you're going to be embroidering. Grab a needle, embroidery needle, and I want you to get 2 pieces of thread, 2 pieces of embroidery thread. And in order to do that, if you're using this standard embroidery thread that you can get at any craft store, it comes with 6 strands. So what you're going to do is pull the length of embroidery thread that you want, and then just pull 2 strands away from the 6, leaving 4 strands behind. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that already. I've added a knot at the end so that it doesn't pull through my project. And I've actually already embroidered this first eye down. I want to go ahead and start on the second eye. So for my Happy Sunflower pattern, I asked you to go ahead and put them three rounds from the center. So here's the magic ring round, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to put the eye next to that. Make sure that where the outer sides, the cheeks of the Happy Sunflower are at the sides. Okay, so position it the way that you'd like. Put your thumb over that piece of felt to hold it still, and then we're going to come from the back. You want to make sure when you're coming from the back, don't go through these holes that are between the stitches. You want to actually go through the stitches themselves, and that will trap that knot in the back. Okay, so you're going to go through both pieces, the felt and the face piece, and you want to go leaving just maybe about 1/8 of an inch, really small amount from the edge. Okay, pull it through. That knot has stopped me from pulling it all the way through. And then to do this stitch that you want, it's called a whip stitch. This is the most common one I've seen when you're embroidering facial details, or maybe the triangles for a cat's ear or something like that. You're going to use the whip stitch. So to do that, you're going to go just beneath the felt, directly horizontal to where that thread is coming through. Okay. And then come out. When you come through the felt, you're going to come just to the side of the stitch that you just made. and pull through. Okay, do it again. So you're going to go just to the edge or just beneath the felt, directly in front of it, whatever that direction is. And then go ahead and come up next to where your thread is and pull through. Okay. Again, go to the back, come up next to your thread. You want to put the same distance that you have from the edge in between each stitch. That way you're not doing a ton of stitches, but you're doing enough to secure the eye down. Make sure that both threads are being pulled through. Sometimes they get caught and you'll see there'll be a little loop above. So you want to just make sure, give a little tug, make sure that the thread is being pulled, both threads are being pulled all the way through. Okay, so we've reached the end of the eye where we started. We need to go ahead and put our thread through to the back. So we're going to go just as we would normally, just to the side, but this time we're just going to pull it straight to the back. Just like that, okay? Now, you can see it's right next to my knot. Now I need to fasten off the end. In order to do that, you're going to pick up just a few of the little threads from the back of the yarn, being careful not to go too deep because you don't want to see this on the front, okay? Pull it through until you see a little loop. Go ahead and stick your needle through the loop and then pull tight. This is knotting the end and it's fastening it to the back piece of your headpiece here for your sunflower. Okay, again, I usually do this 2 to 3 times to really make sure that I have a good solid knot on the back. We want to make sure that it doesn't ever pull out. So, and this makes sure it won't. Okay, so once you've done that, go ahead and take your scissors, your embroidery scissors, and just snip the end off. Okay, so now you've got the 2 black felt pieces stitched down to your face. The next step is going to be to do the white highlights on each of the eyes. And for that particular part, I actually want to take a piece of white embroidery thread, and I'm using all 6 strands. So I am not splicing these at all. This is a full 6 strands of embroidery thread here. Okay, go ahead and thread your needle. Your first try. Okay, once you've got that, you're again going to come through the back. This time you're actually coming inside the black part of the felt here. I'll show you the spot that I like this stitch to be. You can do this however you like. So I kind of come just above the center and off to the left hand side. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the first stitch in. Here's one. And I like to go over that stitch one more time. So that way it's double the thickness. So get your needle as close to where you started that little highlight stitch and pull it through again. Okay, and then again, just go straight into where you ended that first stitch the first time. This is just doubling it up. Okay, that gives it double the thickness. There's one. You can do this 2 ways. You can either tie off the end on the back and then go over to the other eye, or you can just start the other eye. All the back stitching thread is going to be left. You're not going to see it in the back. It'll be left inside of your piece. Okay, so go ahead and go up through to the same spot on your second eye. Pull forward. And again, you're just doing this straight little stitch here to get that highlight that you want. There's one. Oops, that got a little tight. If you need to loosen it a little bit, you can do that with your needle. Okay, again, go up through where you started it, that first stitch, and then go in through where you ended that stitch. You're just doubling it up. All right, so there's your 2 highlight stitches. Let's go ahead and knot the white thread on the back. Okay, so you're just going ahead and picking up the back part of your yarn from the facial piece here. You want to make sure that you don't go all the way to the front. You don't want any of these stitches showing. You can see that little line of thread that's left behind. It's fine, it's all on the back, so you won't see it. I've gone ahead and done 2 knots. So I'm going to go ahead and clip the end off with my embroidery scissors. Okay, so now you've got your highlights for the eyes. The next part you need to do is the smile. For the smile piece, you're going to need 2 separate threaded needles of black embroidery thread. The first needle, you need to have 2 strands of thread. Go ahead and knot the end. Okay. The second needle, you need to have another piece just like the white where all 6 strands are included. So this is a thicker piece of black embroidery thread. Go ahead and thread your needle. Okay. Okay. Smile is a little tricky, so bear with me here. What you want to do is go ahead and start with your thick 6-stranded piece of embroidery thread. Okay. Where I like for the smile to start is below the eye, and there it's on the 3rd round over from the eye. So you can see here's the eye, here's 1, 2, 3 rounds. So it's in the center of that 3rd round over. Okay, and again, just below the eye. Go ahead and pull that through. Okay, you need to find the same spot on the other side. So again, 1, 2, 3, right? And just below and in the center of the 3rd round from the eye. Okay, and then pull that through. So you can see if you just left it like that, it's as close as you can get to being even, but that's not going to be the end of it. So go ahead and just take your needle, and I just leave it in the top of the head just to hold it. Grab your 2 strands of embroidery thread with your other needle. And this is going to be the strand that holds this thicker strand in the shape that you want. And let me show you how that works. Okay, so come into the 2nd row from your eye. Just go down, probably about, I'd say that's about a 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch. Okay, you're going to come down below that thread to pull it down. Okay, you're trying to make a smile. So again, you're going below the thread so that when you pull your needle straight up, it's going to pull that thread down. Okay, now go ahead and pull your needle forward, stopping that knot there on the back. Now you want to go through the up and over your thicker embroidery thread, up and over, and then you're going to go into that same hole that you brought your 2-stranded thread through. This will lock the thicker strand in place because you're going around it. You're going around it. So you went up and under, out, and now you're going around it and back down into that same hole. There you go. You can see it pulled it down. You need to get to that same spot on the other side. Okay. And this you can play around with. You know, you can pull it down before you pull your needle through. You can pull this down and see, okay, do I like it there? It's actually pretty good. For my first try, I don't always get that very good every time I do this. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it there. So now I'm going to pull the thread through and again, go up and over the thick piece of thread and into that same hole that you brought the 2 strands of embroidery thread through. Okay, and that again locked it in place. So now that we've got the smile, we need to do the little extra lines on either side. So This one I go ahead and I don't tie it off just yet because I want to make sure everything's tight at the end. So now I take my thick strand of embroidery thread. I'm going to come up. This time I'm coming up just next to the eye. This is on the kind of the edge just after that first round. So it's in between the first and second round here from the eye. Go ahead and come up. And then you're going to make sure that you have covered where the end of that smile is. Okay, so you want to go ahead and cover that. And then just go, make it about even. So the same distance from where you're out right now to the smile, you want to do that on the other side. And this stitch is at an angle. Okay, there you go. You can see. So it appears that they're connected. You want them to do that. They're perpendicular to each other. Now with this one, because it's so far from the other side, you can, again, tie it off in the back, or you can just jump over. It's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and just tie it off. Okay. One more. Okay, snip that away. Now is a good time to also take your smaller 2 pieces of embroidery thread and tie those off as well. One. If you poke yourself, it happens. I just did actually. I poke myself quite a bit when I embroider. If there's any loop, don't worry about it. It's on the back. It's knotted. It's fine. Nobody's going to see it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so you're done with the 2 strands. You still need that thick 6 strands though. Let's go ahead and knot the end again. Okay, and that thread is knotted. Now go ahead and do that same little sort of cheek, that little cheek line here. Let's do that on the other side as well. Okay, so you want to come, you want this to be a mirror image. Each side looks the exact same. So whatever that looks like on yours, you know, wherever you put the cheek circle, it doesn't really matter if it's right at the edge of the one row. That's fine. However it is, just make sure you match that on the other side. Okay, so go ahead and come up through where you started here, and then you're going to go down equal distance from your thread to the mouth, and then the mouth down again to where you want it to end. Okay. How does that look? Pretty good, right? So now all we need to do is tie off the end, and then we will be finished doing all of the embroidery details on our Happy Sunflower's face. It doesn't take too long. Go ahead and snip the end off. Oops, there we go. Just to take one more look. Perfect. Look how happy he looks. Hope you found this helpful. Again, you know, doing these sorts of embroidery details, you'll see that a lot. That is how they do the mouth a lot. If it's a squiggly mouth, you're just taking those little two strands of embroidery thread and going around that thicker thread in order to pull it the direction that you want. So it just fastens it in and allows you to just use that one piece of thick thread throughout. And then, yeah, once you finish that, just tie it off on the end. Again, it looks like a mess, but don't worry about it. You don't see it when you look at the front, do you? Okay, so we have our finished face piece. Now we need to stitch the face piece onto the back part of the face, to the green part. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to tuck in this end here. This was an end that was left over, and we don't need it. So go ahead and thread your yarn needle. I'm going to do the same thing we did with the root base, the bottom piece that we just wanted to weave in the end. We're going to go in through the middle part of the next stitch's braid. And we're going in through the middle of the stitches so that the needle is not visible on the front side of the face. Make sure the needle is not visible. Okay, tuck it in, do a little bit further. Again, can't see the needle in the front. All right, and then go ahead and cut that off with your scissors. The next thing you want to do is you're going to be sewing the face front to the face back. So you need to line up. When I had you create or crochet the face, I had you make it so that there were cheeks. It should be an oval shape. So you want to make sure that those stay in the corner on both the back side and the front side. You want to line them up. So now I'm going to go towards the bottom. Again, you should have both the right sides facing out. And what you need to do is you're going to pick up only the inner braids, leaving the outer braids alone. You just want the inner braids. So go ahead and line it up to where you see that the V's are next to each other. Pick up the inner braids only. So you're going in from the front side, you're going to go in through the front loop only, and then through the back side, you're doing the back loop only, okay? So that way you're leaving the front loop on the back side alone and the back loop on the front side alone, if that makes sense. So basically, got two V's like this. You're just connecting these two together. You're leaving these outside ones alone. You just want the inside ones. Okay, again, you're only going through the inside stitches. Okay, so once you've gotten to the bottom part and you've got only about 1.5 inches or so left, this is the time where you need to go ahead and get your stuffing out again. You're going to go ahead and stuff the face. On the inside, you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but I've got my circle on the back side, so that stays at the back. So you're stuffing on top of that. Make sure you get the cheeks stuffed, every part stuffed. Best you can. Okay. You don't want it round. You want it to be somewhat flat, but you still want it stuffed pretty well. So you can see the thickness of the sunflower here. So you don't want to make it so big around that it looks like a ball. You want it to be still flat, but just about 2 inches thick or so. Okay, make sure you get the stuffing in that you want. You're going to do, again, the same thing you did before, where you hold in the stuffing with your fingers, and then you need to finish up stitching the edge together. The inner edges, I should say, right? Because we just want to make sure that we're getting the inside of those V's. We don't want the outside. Leave those alone. The reason I have you leave those alone is because when we do this, the petals, when we're attaching the petals, you want there to be a nice edge on the outside, and that will create that edge that you leave. Even when you're done with the petals, you're really only stitching the petals to the insides that you're creating here. This ridge on the inner side between the two lines, you're attaching them around here, so you're leaving both those lines visible. It creates a really nice edge. Okay, go all the way around until you get to the other side. Okay, once you finish that, you need to go ahead and you can put your needle through and come out around one of the other wood stitches that you've created. You're picking up the green thread, not the brown. picking up the green thread around one of the whip stitches, and then go ahead and pull through till you get a loop. Put your needle through the loop and pull tight, create your knot. Lift it up so you can see the hole. Put your needle through the hole, coming out in any other area, doesn't matter where, front or back, and pull till the knot goes on the inside of your piece. Get your scissors, clip the end off, and then take your needle and tuck that end in. Okay. So now we have the face finished. There's the head, we've got our stem, we've got 3 leaves and the root ball. The last part is to do all of the 13 petals around. I know people loved me for that. I had quite a few comments where people said, gee, thanks for having me have to do 13 of those. So I know it was torturous, but it will look really nice when it's all set. So let's go ahead and stitch on those petals. For the last part of our sunflower, we need to go ahead and attach the petals all the way around its face. I usually like to start at the top and go ahead and thread your needle on one of your petals. So what we're going to do is we're going to work between the 2 lines that we've left, the outer rows of the front of face and the back of the face. So we're going to go ahead and work in between those 2. So what we want to do is, I like to take my needle, go in through the middle stitch of the green part, so the back part, come up through the middle stitch of the brown, again leaving those outer rows unworked. You want to leave those alone. Okay, pull that through. So you're working from the back to the front. So now we're going to go ahead and stitch from the right side to the left, connecting the first stitches on the front side of your petal. So go ahead and go from the outside in, going underneath that V, the leftover top stitches there. And then you're going to go back in through the same hole that has your thread coming out of it, and then go in and come out through. I usually do 2, skip the next one, and then come out through the second one over, the second hole over. Pull that through. Okay. You may need to adjust your petal a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and do the next one. So go in, come in from underneath, outside in, to the middle between the 2 different sides of the petal, okay? So you're leaving the back side unworked right now. You're going to go around and create sort of an oval. So you're just going around the front stitches here. So go in from outside in, go back in through the hole that your thread is coming through, and come out 2 holes down. Okay, go ahead and pull that tight. Again, outside in, going back in through the same hole your thread is coming out. Now you've done 1, 2, this is your third one. You're going to go to the other side. So you're going now to the back side, coming in through the middle, so you're leaving that outer braid unworked, those outer edges there. Okay. Now flip your sunflower over, and we're going to pick up the back stitches here. Okay, so go in, outside in, through the hole that your thread is coming through. Now you just want to go one hole over. So whereas in the front you're going 2, in the back you're just going to go 1. Okay, pick up the next one, outside in. Just go towards the next stitch over. Okay, outside in, go in through the same hole your thread's coming through, and then come up through. When you're coming up through this area, not the petal. You're coming up through this area here. Outside in, go back into that hole where your thread's coming from, and then go over 1 stitch, pull tight. And just this one edge here, this is where you tied off your petal. I usually like to tack that one down as well. And then now what you want to do, because you've gone around the whole edge, is you want to go back to that first stitch that you made on the front, come up right next to it in the gap between the stitches. Sometimes it's a little tough to pull these through. You have to wiggle it a bit. Okay, now what you're going to do is you need to tie off your thread. So you need to pick up this stitch, pick up the whip stitch. This is the yellow stitch that you had the first one. Okay, pull it through, leaving a loop. Go ahead and put your needle through the loop, pull tight. It's created your knot right here. You can see the knot. So now we need to lift it up so we can see the hole underneath. Put your needle through the hole, go towards the back, and pull through. And then you want to see that your knot gets tucked in. You could hear it actually pop down into the inside of the sunflower. So now that that's completely inside, I usually just take my needle out, and since I'm doing 13 of these, I don't always cut these off as I go. I just leave them there and cut them at the end. You can do it however you like, but go ahead and pick up your next petal. Okay, thread the needle through, thread the yarn through the needle. Now you're going to go to the right-hand side of the petal that you just did, to the right-hand side. Go ahead, and what I like to do is I don't like there to be any gaps in between the petals. So I'm going in through the back hole in between the ridge and the center area here, and coming up through the center hole right next to where your other stitch is. So you can see that I'm right next to the petal where my needle is right here. I'm right next to the other petal, so there's no gap in between. Okay, go ahead and pull that through here. Okay, make sure your petal is facing the correct way. You want them to be you want the petals to be arched forward like that. Okay, and then you're going to do the same exact thing. So go from outside in, go back in through the same hole that your thread is coming through, go down 2 stitches, 2 holes, pull through, pick up the next one, 2 stitches over, pull through, 1 more. Now we're going to the back side of the head here. Okay, through. Now flip it around so you can work on the back. Okay, outside in, again. Now you're going 1 stitch over. Outside in. Stitch over. It's a little tight as you're doing this. You can pull the petal down so you can see what you're doing better. Outside in, go in through that same hole that your thread is coming through, and just pick up 1 stitch over. Okay, again. Last one. And you're going to come out the front. Oops. There we go. And now we're going to tie off. We're going to tie off the front here. So let's go ahead and pick up that first stitch that you did, first whip stitch that you made. Pull it until you make a loop. Put your needle through the loop, pull tight, make your knot. Here's your knot. Okay, lift the knot up so you can see the under hole that you've got. Go towards the back and pull until you see the knot pop in. And then take your needle out. You're going to do this all the way around until you get to the end, and that's going to be the end of your sunflower. As you're going through, if you notice that the stitch where you did your first one was sort of splicing in between a stitch, which does happen sometimes. You won't notice that at all, but you don't want to put your knot there because the knot won't pull through very easily. So in this one, I'm just going to go to one of my other stitches that I had done on the other side and tie off the thread there. It doesn't really matter where you tie the thread off, as long as it's a nice, easy stitch that you can grab, one of your whip stitches, and it's right above one of the holes that you can hide the knot in. So I'm going to grab this one. There's my knot. Lift it up, my needle through the hole, and pull it through until the knot pops in. See, I'm about halfway done. So let's go ahead and finish up. So there is our sunflower. All the petals, 13 of them on. Now we have all these fun ends on the back, so we need to go ahead and cut those off and tuck them in. So just take your scissors and go around and cut them close to the head, but not, you want to make sure not to obviously cut the head, cut into the head. So just go close as you can. You can still see them, but we will tuck those in just a second. Okay. So now I like to take my needle and go in near the stitch and just get towards it, and if you just start wiggling it back and forth, it will pull those in. You can see them hiding in there because it pulls on the thread that's inside, and it will pull them through so you don't see them anymore. So just go all the way around until you see all of those tuck in. Okay, last one. So they're all tucked in. The face, it's okay if it moves around because it's all wired inside, so you can bend it however you'd like. You can bend it back and have it sort of at a nice angle here if you want. You can have him more straight up and down so he looks taller if that's how you want him to look. You can do it however you like, so bend it to your liking. So the last part for your sunflower is to grab your clay pot and go ahead and slip the root base in. Tuck it in there. Fits perfectly. And then I usually just sort of bend the leaves out just a little bit on the edges. Now the sunflower is finished. I hope yours came out great. I'd love to see what you've come up with. You can check on my Facebook fan page and post your happy sunflowers there. I'll put the link down below in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks.